This is the Lulich Corner. I'm Jordan Lulich, and today we get the opportunity to sit down with Bill Penney, CEO of Marine Bank and Trust. First off, Bill, I appreciate you coming. Thank you for sitting down with us and taking your time.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for having me.
And so Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before we talk about banking and everything that's going on in the market right now?
Okay. Native Floridian, born and raised in West Palm Beach. Moved to Vero Beach, Indian River County in 2004. I've been a career banker and I've really enjoyed what I do. It's a very honorable profession. We get to help out a lot of people.
Okay. All right. And this year in particularly, we've seen the banks. It seems like you guys have been in the news a lot this year, right? I mean, this bank, Silicon Valley Bank, that bank. I mean, people, when I talk to them, there's a concern.
Mm-hmm, sure.
And their attitude is, well, maybe I should just take all my money out and put it underneath my mattress.
Don't do that.
So why shouldn't people take their money and put it underneath their mattress, Bill? Why?
We've been in, our industry's been in the news. We'll say that.
Yeah.
How I respond to that is there were 3 banks that ran higher than normal risk profiles, and they had lower than normal risk mitigation. They were poorly run, and they failed, as they should, as American enterprise allows any business to do. The difference is the FDIC stepped in with those banks, closed them down, and moved all their business, loans and deposits, to other stronger banks.
Right.
So no customer lost a dime in any of those accounts. No customer of an FDIC insured bank with insured account has ever lost a dime.
Yeah.
So the system worked as it's supposed to.
Is that even over? Because aren't there certain, and you probably know all about this, but aren't there certain FDIC limits? Like, so a bank will insure up to a certain amount.
Right.
So for those individuals who had $1 million or $2 million that well exceeded that amount, did they lose that money when those banks failed?
The FDIC stepped in, and banks that are acquiring failed banks or failed bank customers, they want the entire relationship. So if you've got $1 million in that bank, yes, only $250 was covered by the insurance, but the successor bank, they want the entire relationship.
Okay.
So everybody was made whole on that.
Nobody lost a penny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody lost a penny.
I think that is a myth that's out there that a lot of people probably don't realize. But around this time, what was it, like February, March of this year?
Right.
You see banks failing, markets crashing. We're headed into a recession. And it created a lot of hysteria.
Right.
Amongst people. People started becoming concerned and scared, and there was a lot of anxiety. Right. And so since then, the face of the earth hasn't fallen off.
No, we're still here.
But what's gone on? I mean, what are you observing from your banking perspective? Yeah,
the economy is in a very weird place right now, and that's the technical term I use to describe it. It's
weird place.
Just weird. There's so many mixed signals. The Federal Reserve has raised interest rates to battle inflation.
Yep.
And generally that worked. Inflation is slowing down. Yes. And when they raise rates to slow inflation, it's to slow the economy, even at the risk of a recession. Mm-hmm. And 6 months ago, there was a lot of predictions of a recession. That hasn't happened.
No.
The Fed is saying they can get a, quote, soft landing. I don't know if I'm agreeable to that or not, but they're trying. So we're moving on. Inflation is slowing down. Everything is more expensive. If we had 10% inflation last year and 2% this year, something that was 100 is now 110 and then 112. So there is a compounding effect. Yeah, obviously. But unemployment is still really low. It's in the low 3% range, which is effectively full employment.
Yeah.
So as much as the Fed has tried to slow the economy, it hasn't really affected hiring.
Yeah.
That's why I say it's just in a weird place. There's a whole lot of mixed signals going on.
Are you seeing a difference locally versus nationally?
Yeah, we are. Florida and then the central east coast of Florida, where we have the privilege to live, work, and play, is just amazing. People want to live here because of all the reasons that we are here: the weather, the low taxes, and even more than ever, I've heard, public safety. People feel safe, and they don't necessarily feel safe in some of the up north cities. So there is a continuing flow of people into Florida. which has boosted our economy, obviously, and raised prices, frankly.
So do you think we're going to see a recession in the U.S. or in Florida or both?
Maybe. Let me get very definitive. Maybe. It doesn't seem like it, but it's possible. And let's go back and redefine a recession, because we all have memories of 13 years ago,
Right.
a little bit longer. 2008, 2010 was a horrible recession.
It was.
For the country, and particularly for Indian River County. Jordan, we had 16% unemployment in Indian River County. It's
16%.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. We
Wow.
were the third highest in the state, and the state was the fifth highest in the country.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it was pretty ugly.
Yeah.
So that's what we think of a recession.
Well,
But
we're traumatized.
right, exactly. So, but a definition of a recession is 2/4 of lack of growth in GDP, the gross domestic product.
Yeah.
So we can have a very mild recession. I think the country will have a mild recession. I think Florida, if we do, is not going to feel it much.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. And so, didn't we see that last year, Bill? Two quarters with a negative GDP?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
it was very soft. It was very low.
It was very
low
low.
growth. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now they're predicting the next time they release that to be up in the 4% range, which is astonishing. And everybody's scratching their head because, like I said earlier, such mixed signals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what's going on with interest rates? You guys do a lot of lending at Marine Bank,
course we
right?
do.
So you're
Yeah,
doing residential lending, you do commercial lending.
Right.
You guys have done a great job, out in the community.
Well, thank
but
you.
what's going on with interest rates?
Right. Well, the Federal Reserve raised interest rates, as I said, to cool inflation, and that just made it more expensive to borrow, obviously. The bond market, which is $1 trillion plus market of bond buyers, doesn't believe that the rates are going to stay high longer. And for instance, the 10-year bond, Treasury bond, has a lower rate than the 3-month Treasury bond, which is, to get geeky on you, is called an inverted yield curve.
Which is a sign of a
A
recession.
sign of a recession.
Right.
That's why that hasn't been taken off the table in my mind.
Yeah.
But it also says that these bond investors think rates are going to come down. So the talk was the Fed will raise rates, cool inflation, and then lower rates. And now the sentiment is more that the rates are going to be higher for longer without the Fed reducing it. And I asked the question, why would the Fed reduce rates if the economy is chugging along? They don't really need to. The reason they would lower rates is to fight a recession. If we do slip into a recession, typically they would lower the rate. So right now, I don't see a reason for them to do it.
So you think rates are going to stay consistent, and then if we start to see more signs of a recession, then you think that those interest rates would start to come down?
Yeah, very well encapsulated. And let me just give the legal disclaimer. This advice is worth what you paid for it. Nothing.
Yes, this is just your opinion. Absolutely.
my
Don't
bad
rely on this advice.
That's right. My bad opinion. So, yeah.
And another, we've got high interest rates, and when an investor looks at purchasing a property, one of the challenges they have is they've got to look at the interest rates and calculate that in to see if the property would be cash flow positive if it's an investment property.
Right.
And then insurance, and it's been a constant conversation that we've been having. But what's going on, and how have you seen the impact on the banking industry with what the property insurance is doing right now?
Insurance, particularly wind insurance, is in a crisis mode in Florida. It's hard to get, and if you can get it, it's very, very expensive.
Yeah.
The legislature did some measures, passed some bills last session that the anticipation is it will help alleviate this. But everybody I've talked to says it's going to take a couple of years to work through the system.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, wind is, like I said, very expensive if you can get it. So my advice is, if you're out looking to buy a new property, get a quote on wind early on, because what I'm hearing is the wind price and availability based on the year the house was built, the quality of construction, how old is the roof, et cetera. So don't, in the old days, it used to be just get that right before closing, but don't do that now.
Don't wait.
Don't wait.
Have in your professional career, Have you seen something similar in the state of Florida with what we're dealing with right now with the insurance issue?
Insurance is a risk business, much like banking. You have the marketing people that get out in front and say, hey, lower standards, we need volume. And then, the wheels come off the wagon, and then the risk control guys get in charge and say, we don't need to do any more business.
Yep.
So I've seen these cycles. I will say I think this is the worst cycle I've seen, just in terms of availability and relative price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to wrap things up, you're with Marine Bank and Trust.
Right.
You've been there since 2004, you said?
Yep.
And so tell us a little bit about Marine Bank and how is Marine Bank different from other banks?
Thank you. My favorite subject, Jordan. So
I know it is.
Marine Bank is the only locally based and managed bank in Indian River County and also St. Lucie County. What that means to you, for our customers and our clients, is we're making the decisions locally. Huge difference. So we have an 800 number, but that's only for when you're traveling out of state.
Okay.
I'm just amazed. We have such a wonderful staff of very polished, seasoned, and most importantly, passionate bankers whose mission every day is we get up every day and we get to help people. We get to help people fulfill their dreams. First house, first car, that business expansion, hiring jobs.
Yeah.
It really is a great profession. And as much as we make more on financing a really high-end house, I get excited to see that first-time home buyer, because I remember my first home purchase a long, long time ago. By the way, that was at 14.5% rate.
14.5%. So these 7% rates are looking pretty good.
These 7% rates are looking great. Yeah. So it really is an honorable profession, and I always tell people when I'm out in public I promise when you bank at Marine, you're going to get the best banking experience ever. And if you don't, call me directly. Jordan, I don't get those kind of calls. So
That's
our
good.
Folks are delivering on that, and I'm incredibly proud of them.
Bill, how can people find you?
Marinebank.bank on the internet. I Googled us up, and sometimes we're at the top of the bank list.
Okay.
We're easy to find.
All right, marinebank.bank for more info. Bill, we appreciate you joining us this
Thank you,
morning
Jordan.
on the Lulich Corner. I'm Jordan Lulich, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.